click that button.
Welcome to another edition of Soul Fire Ascension with Raven and Lisa Love Light. Raven is an aura, past life regression, and clinical hypnotherapist, a quantum galactic Akashic reader, raw Reiki angelic alchemy healing practitioner, and Yushui Reiki master. Raven also offers one-on-one spiritual consultations. Book your free 15-minute discovery Zoom call with Raven at ravenshealingarts.com. Lisa is an aura practitioner, raw Reiki quantum galactic Akashic reader, Yushui Reiki master, and offers one-on-one soul coaching sessions. For questions or booking sessions, you can message her at sacredheartquantumhealing.com or at myabundanceflows247@aol.com. You can watch Soulfire Ascension on YouTube and Rumble. You can also listen to Soulfire Ascension on Spotify. Please do like, share, and subscribe, and we hope you enjoy the show. Greetings and welcome to another edition of Soul Fire Ascension with Raven and Lisa Love Light. And tonight we have part 2 of the 7 sacred directions. And even though it's part 2, we hope to get through 5 directions? We only did 2 directions last time, so we're hoping to get through to the 7. And again, we have Miss Cinnamon Moon and Jana Mason. Cinnamon is an author and a spiritual coach. And Jana has Brookhaven.
Heron Brook Haven.
Heron Brook Haven. I'm sorry, my mind just went dead all of a sudden. But, you know,
one of those days.
Older, you just get used to it, you know. So we are, what did we discuss the last time? We did air and we did fire.
Mm-hmm.
So what's next, Cinnamon?
Water. Let's take water.
Okay.
Jana and I come from different directions with the 7 sacred ones just because of where we live, and it varies in different parts of the country. But for me, air opens the mind. Fire is the physical transition, and then you get into water and we're looking at emotion and healing and inner reflection, that type of thing. It's we take a concept in air and we experience it in fire, and then in water we come to the understanding of that experience. So if you're looking at the emotional aspect of things, we've found our faith, we've found the areas that we trust in ourselves. It's a personal journey. So when you come to that understanding, that's where your inner healing takes place.
Beautiful. Jenna, would you like to chime in?
Totally agree with all that. It's you know, it's the place of that great transformation when we go within ourselves to process what we've experienced. What in some of my training, you know, the West is the home of bear, and you enter into the cave of bear to discern your own truth and seek your own meaning from what you've experienced prior to that.
Nice.
Yeah. And it's It's where we get the self-reflection and the self-understanding of the self so that we can be authentic. And so it's a process of self-development when you go through the 7 sacred directions. And then you take that out into the world, because once you understand yourself, you can understand others. You can be more tolerant of their weaknesses or their behavior, their actions, things that you wouldn't do yourself. You go, well, that's where they're standing. It's not a judgment call at all. Just you see where they are and you say, that's not for me, and I'm going this way.
Some of my experiences with the West taught me about the differences between discernment and judgment.
Yes. Huge.
That there is a difference, because we can look at something and say, well, yeah, I visited with that, and I found this spot in myself with that, and I can see that in that person, and they, blah, blah. And it's like, oh God, are you judging them? And it's like, no, that's, you've experienced it, you recognize that energy, and there is that difference between knowing what your truth is and having that discernment, as opposed to judging someone, saying, well, he's a dork and he shouldn't be acting like that, and I don't like, So there is a difference.
Yes, definitely.
I think judgment comes from the ego.
Mm-hmm.
It does. Mm-hmm. It does. Right. And discernment comes from the heart.
Yes.
Which is about the unhealed parts of ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Step out, man.
So, what would be the next?
Earth. We go from air to fire to water to earth, and that's where we gain our wisdom. We come from the heart. Spirit keepers, buffalo. It's where we provide sustenance, but we've got the discernment to know when to step in and when to step out. We pick our battles. And we see who is in need rather than who wants. There's a difference. And if they're in need, we can help them. And if they're just wanting somebody to do the work for them, we can stand back and say, no, sorry.
Sam Blue must be talking about discernment. She says a perspective without ego.
Yep.
Yes. I think Lisa and I are playing with the
trying to keep up with it.
It's all right. It's all good.
That was
Sam.
Sam is
Yeah. We love our Sam Blue. So Earth, let's see. We did is it water?
We did water's the west.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we went up to earth.
Yeah. That's in the north.
About that place of contemplation and integrating all of that before you start your next cycle. And that's, in this fast-paced modern world, that's a direction that a lot of people can have a difficult time with, because it requires slowing down and resting and getting ready for what's coming next. Completing that process. And a lot of times I know I've done it, I can raise my hand on it. I joke, I used to be a sprinter in high school, and my goal was to get to that finish line as fast as I could. And
no, here comes the next level.
It doesn't work. You've got to complete that circle, and the north is the place where we complete that and take our rest. And it's also the place of wisdom and the place of the ancestors and elders. Mm-hmm. Remembering to listen to them.
And once you've gone through the cycle of the 4 elements, you understand them to a degree, and then you repeat the cycle, taking that understanding and gathering more information. So each time you cycle through it, you take a step up each time.
Yeah.
And we do that throughout our lives.
Yeah.
And then you go into the three worlds, which is the below, middle, and above world. And with those, you've got past, present, and future. So it's part of I use it as part of the assimilation process, because once you've learned your lesson for each element, you go into the below world, which is the past, and you see how you didn't know about that before and what your behavior was like, and you can make the adjustments now because you see where it's necessary, and then you can see how you would maybe change that or apply it in the future. So you've got the past and how you did it, how you're doing it now, and how you might do it in the future. It's your choice always. But that happens with each of the elements because the three worlds are the axis. Or the axle, if you want, and the wheel spins around it. So with each quarter or quadrant of the wheel, you're going to go through the three worlds and apply that technique to keep it going. If that makes sense to everybody, I don't know.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I don't know about the audience.
Absolute sense. And I think it's important to let people know that, each one of the quadrants, each direction, they're multifaceted. It's not like, okay, I'm in the East and this is all it's about. There's many things that go along with each one of those directions and elements.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and the more you travel that circle consciously, because we all travel it whether we realize it or not. So when you do it consciously, it absolutely changes that journey around.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also times where, okay, I'm dealing with this, and okay, I'm over here at the west with this, but I'm starting this, so I'm over here at the east with this. And it is learning to balance those things out and discern where you are with what you have going on in your life. It's not like we're as multifaceted as they are, so it's not like we only have one thing going on. Sometimes we do, but
but
most of us have different things going on in our lives.
And when we do, we can, if you're conscious of it, you can say, well, with this issue, I'm standing in fire. With this issue, I'm over in air. With this one, I'm in the earth, and I'm over here in water, and I'm processing my emotions about it. And whatever direction is directly across, or element, that's going to be your balancing point. If you're out of sorts, that brings you back into balance, into the harmony. So air and water balance each other, fire and earth balance each other.
So Sam Blue says, this is when you've learned all of the elements?
Well, yeah, because you can place yourself, you recognize where you or someone else is standing.
Yeah.
But you have to learn for yourself before you can see where anybody else is.
I think last time we talked about that it's important for each person to get to know those directions and elements and how it feels for them.
Right.
So then you can understand, okay, I recognize this energy. This is fire, or, God, this is earth. We can recognize that. And I think it's important to understand, too, that the elemental earth is actually different than like Pachamama, Mother Earth. It's a different energy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The elemental earth is, the stones, it's the bones, all that kind of stuff. And Mother Earth is a different energy than that. And a lot of people correlate them together, which that's fine. It's just my training, they're very different.
Well, there's a spiritual level to everything.
Right.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh, the energy that comes with each element is an energy signature.
Right.
And you will hear people talk about energy signatures. Um, I like to explain the feel of that. Like, you know how when you're sitting and your back is to the door and somebody from the family comes in, puts their fingers over your eyes, and you got to guess who's got you. Well, you feel their energy. You know who it is by their presence alone, right? You know if it's your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, a cousin. You know how they feel. And it's the same with elemental energies. You get a feel for it and you go, oh, I know who that is. I know who's here. And that makes it easier to work with and recognize and then adapt to it because you're going to have to respond in some way or stand out of the way. Um, Ego is reactionary. Responding is you have the ability to respond when you understand, when you know, when you've experienced. You know what to do with that element. You know how to interact with it, what it can do, what you don't want to get involved with. That's a response. But if you're reacting to something, you're knee jerking and you don't, it's an impulse more so than an awareness, a conscious awareness.
Right.
Well, reactive response, yeah.
Yeah. And that's why it's important for each person to establish their relationship with the directions and the elements to understand what it feels like for them. And it helps them in a multitude of ways.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say the sixth direction is, or the fifth direction?
The below world,
Okay.
and then you go middle world and above world. The above
So that
world
would be
is the
6 and
spirit.
7.
Yeah. The middle world is the physical reality that we're in. If you take the shamanic tree with the roots going into the ground, that's the below world. That's how you travel down. The trunk of that tree is the middle world, and then the branches go up into the above world, the sky nation. So it's where we get our sources of guidance that are coming from above us, from the other side of the veil. It's the angelic realms, extraterrestrial connections. If you're going to have them, they're going to come from the sky nation.
Mm-hmm.
So just
Star beings. Okay.
Lisa has something there.
And when you're standing at the center
The star
of that
beam.
wheel,
Yeah.
Yeah.
when you're standing at the center of that wheel, connected, conscious, aware, that's that space where anything is possible. That's that void space. That's creation. You know, that's like the ultimate power, so to speak, but power in a positive way, not the power over or, you know, the misguided power. You know, when we're connected physically, spiritually, and we're in the center of that wheel, I love that space.
Yeah. Yeah. It's wonderful.
And that's the idea of being at that place of connection between the physical, spiritual, open, aware, connected, senses, alive, all of it comes in that space.
When you center yourself properly, that's where you're standing. It's right in the center.
Yeah.
It's the hub, and everything expands from there going out.
Right.
Now, Red Wolf taught me the medicine wheel, which is, you know, all the directions. But he also started teaching me the star wheel, because there is a star wheel. And he used to make star water with it. But he was just beginning to teach me that before he left.
Oh,
Lisa, anything you want to say about that?
Question. What would be the difference from, because I'm familiar with the medicine wheel. What's a star wheel correlate with or connect with?
It connects with the extraterrestrial, the Star Nation.
Okay.
If you
Awesome.
take the medicine wheel, Lisa, this is advanced work, but you can extend each quadrant out into another wheel. All right. You can put another medicine wheel at each quadrant and expand it.
Okay.
And then you've got the access point going through each of them as well.
Sort of like one above the other.
Mm-hmm. So there's layers. There's lots of layers to the wheel. You just have to know how many layers you're getting into so you can get back.
True.
Indeed. And if we can just touch on, for some of our viewers out there that are not even familiar with the shamanic ways or medicine wheels, could you ladies maybe sum up why would someone want to work with the elements? Why would someone want, or how would working with the elements enhance someone's life? What are the benefits to working with the medicine wheel and with the elements?
That's what
I know it's your way of life, so you don't.
It's all there anyways. We might as well learn about it.
They're loaded.
Wow.
Each element has so many layers that we can learn in each layer. Let's just take. I'm going to go to air because it's where we conceive. You have abstract thought, philosophical thought. You have expanded the big picture. You have conceptions. You have ideas. You have dreams and desires that you want to work on, things that you're creating. That's your co-creative arena for the moment. In order to bring that to life or bring it into manifest form, you have to move into the element of fire where things are happening, they're growing. You've got the passion to drive you, and fire is going to have its layers to it. Through those experiences, excuse me, let's say it's a vision, your vision comes to life, and you have understanding of that process because you've nurtured it along. You've brought it in. And every element has so many layers to it, so much to teach. And then you start the cycle again with the next idea, the next concept, or whatever you're doing, But each of the four elements are going to be to our advantage to learn and work with because they facilitate what we want to co-create. We can call those elements in to participate in what we're trying to create. We can use them for healing. Beautiful. We can use them for creation. We can use them for understanding. We're going to meet sources of guidance in each one. And that can be one, it can be 10 or a dozen or 2 dozen. Everybody's going to be a little different. Depends on how deep you go and how much help you need, but it's there for you. If you need it, it'll be there. Does that answer you?
And it's a little bit of the path that we walk when we're doing something anyways. And if we consciously work with these energies and bring them in, it only enhances our experience, which enhances us and our whole experience, anyways. And we talk about these as energies, but our bodies, we're part of the same thing. We have earth, air, fire, water, spirit, all of that within us. So we're getting to know ourselves and understanding our connection to all the rest of it and how it works for us. And it really enhances that path. It helps you raise your conscious awareness of what's going on in your life and how you can work with that in a multitude of ways, depending on which part of that element or direction you're working with at the moment.
Hmm.
Nice. David says on the 21/1/21, that's a pivotal date. I was called outside at 9 p.m. to hug my front yard tree, a claret ash. I was urged to look up in the gaps between leaves, and I was looking at different planetary systems. I was also urged to put my ear to the tree, and I could hear the ocean that was over 5 hours away. Well, they say that the roots and the connections connect everything. I mean, it's a whole uh,
Network.
yeah, it's a network. And I would say as it would connect to the ocean as well as the earth.
There's a network above and there's a network below,
Yeah.
connected to, those directions. I don't know how many people are familiar with it, but think about mycelium, and
Mhm.
how the roots of a tree and how they stretch out and grow. And that's connected to our nervous system, but that's also the earth has her own nervous system, and things are connected. And information travels back and forth across those roots as well as the airwaves.
I like the comparison of the human body's nervous system when you see that image, and then you see a tree with its roots side by side, a winter tree without when the leaves have fallen, and it's the same patterns. You can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, or say our thumbprint in a tree trunk, the
Yeah,
rings on
the
a tree
rings of
trunk.
the tree. Yeah,
We're all connected. We're all one. We just have to realize that we are all part of one.
And enhancing those connections.
most people
Yes.
take that connection for granted and don't even pay attention to it unless they are working with spiritual development. And if they are, then they get into it more and they see it for themselves. That's the beauty of it, is that once you see it and experience it, you're growing with it and you want more. Those experiences are dynamic.
And
You know,
Sam says
I
it's
can't
amazing.
have enough.
Yeah. Sam says it's amazing the similarities. It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
And the thing is that once we get out of the mindset that we are separate from, then we learn so much because we are not separate from anything.
No.
We are connected to, we are a fractal of the creator, of source. Everything is a fractal of creator or source. And we ourselves are part of source. We are part of everything. It's all together.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's kind of like that one where they talk about not only are you the drop in the ocean, but you're the ocean.
Yes.
It's that idea of that. And when we consciously connect, like with, out in the yard with the tree, then we open and that heart space is very powerful.
Yeah. And it used to be like an old, I don't know what you would call it, paradigm or whatever, that, you take a pond and you throw a pebble in that pond, and that pebble ripples throughout the entire pond. And that's what we are. And David says we are the children of Source. We are. We are.
We all are. That
Yep.
includes the trees and the stones and the elements and the plants and the swimmers, the crawlers.
And the birds. And
Yep.
yeah, we are
All of it.
all part of Source.
Our sources of guidance are very similar to all of this too, because they are varied. They come in many forms, many shapes, many sizes. Sometimes they're relative, sometimes they're totem animals, sometimes they're angelic beings or ascended masters. They can be any number of beings that come to work with us, and they're shapeshifters. They can become whatever they want to become. So
Sometimes they'll come as a friend, and sometimes they'll come as something strange to scare the heck out of you and say, "Wake up! We're doing this."
Yep.
for sure. But and so when you're studying the foundations of the seven sacred directions or the seven rays, whatever, seven somethings of whatever tradition you follow, as you study them independently, you come to grasp the potential within each one. The potential, because they're always expanding and evolving and growing with us. But once you've gotten that basic down, every time you go through your cycles, that expands even more, and your knowledge base grows. Every time you visit, every experience is different. Nothing repeats in the same way. You might have an environment that you visit that is the same, but the experience that you're going to have while you're there is going to change every single time. If that makes sense. If you go to the top of the same mountain, every experience is going to be unique every time you go. If you go to the ocean, every experience you have at the ocean is going to be different. There's a harmony, a rhythm to each element. Let's use water as an example. If you were to go to the ocean, sit on a bench with your back to the ocean, close your eyes, still yourself, center yourself, and just listen to the waves coming to the shore, the ebb and the flow. You get into that rhythm, you align with it. And then what happens when the waves come picking up speed? You feel that. You feel any change. If a storm comes in, if it's calming itself even more so, you feel the ebb and the flow. It's the same with every element. You're going to pick up that rhythm, and that's part of the energy signature. It tells you things. You know when it's working into a storm, a firestorm, a water storm, an earthquake, a tornado. Those are extremes. Wildfires are extremes. Water spouts on the ocean are extremes. And then there's the gentler side. So you learn what that is, you feel it, and you know how to respond. Again, we're back to response, not a reaction, a response. And it tells you when there's going to be movement that way.
And there are certain spirits connected to each of the directions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In air, we have sliffs. In fire, we have salamanders. We have the undines in water, and the gnomes in the earth, the little people. and they're there. They'll show you.
Yeah,
And
we have the fae at our house a lot.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I had them on the farm all the time. They were taking things and hiding them and bringing them back always. Oh, they even duplicated a blouse for me once. I bought one and I couldn't find it. And so I told them, I said, bring that back. They brought me two. And my kids were going, my girls, Mom, look at this.
They're quite the characters.
Yeah, yeah.
They are. We have a lot of fae at our house, so there's a lot of things that happen, and
Mm,
we have a lot of cameras all over the house, and
do you?
yeah, and we
You
catch
catch
them on
them?
camera. Yeah, we do. We say they have portals out in our backyard.
They might.
Well, I think they do because we'll see little critters come and then all of a sudden on the camera they'll disappear. And I'm like,
Mm,
yeah, they were there. But you'll see them and you won't see them go anywhere. They'll just be gone.
yeah.
You know, it's kind of unique. I love
Every
the
element it has its portals.
I love the elementals, but I am an earth sign, so that makes total sense. Sam Blue says she's afraid of the element of fire. How can I break through?
Move slowly with caution. Um, practice maybe with a candle flame rather than a bonfire or something bigger. You know, start small, get accustomed to it. Um, fire, like we were saying last time when we get on here, it's uh, spontaneous. It comes very quickly. It's quick to respond. It can burn on all levels: mental, physical, spiritual, emotional. Yeah, you can get a burn that way, and you'll learn the hard way if you're not being careful. So just go slow, Sam.
Yeah, I understand the fear of fire because
Mm,
we had that fire last year and I never feared it very much. I mean, I learned how to make a candle flame dance and
mm,
learned a lot about fire, but when there was an actual fire in the house, then that was a whole different scenario. But a lot of transformation came out of that. So fire is transformation big
for
time.
sure. Yeah, it
And
brings
sometimes
change.
it's really good, you know.
Yeah,
I think it's always good. The way we get there might not always feel very good. But
Yeah.
the changes that we go through usually lead us somewhere. And in my training, fire is connected to like the ego and your power and your faith. So if you're struggling with fire, how are you struggling with that within yourself? Because those elements teach us about ourselves because we hold them within ourselves as well. So it's actually that physical and the spiritual. So why are you afraid of fire? Why are you afraid of your fire? Because last time we talked about, your fire can go out if you're not tending it, or if you're over tending it, you can have like a wildfire. But a well tended fire is a very useful tool and a very beautiful thing. So where are you at with your fire, and why are you afraid of it? And maybe you can visit with that a little
like
bit while you light your candle and merge into that slowly.
mhm. Study the element. Um, I like to give an exercise where you take one of my initial exercises is to explore each element one at a time with each of your senses one at a time, and you will come to know how it feels, what it sounds like, what it tastes like. Um, what it looks like, what every sense can tell you something about it, you know. And then you look at the element in nature and you see its attributes, you see its extremes, its gentleness and its strength. Um, so you know how to respond to it. That helps. It's a good exercise.
Nice.
Well, you look at what a forest fire does a wildfire. Um, it clears the land, but it also heats the seeds that are below the soil that have been laying dormant. And those seeds break open, and the rains come, and they nourish, and the sunlight comes, and it nourishes. And those seeds break open, and they sink their roots, and then they send their stems up through, and they break ground. So it's it it appears at first to be destructive, but it's actually a creative force too. You know.
Sam says, we had a fire on the 1st of April and it was only me and Caesar. I'm afraid of the element, but I was able to collect myself and put it, I meant out off, but I think she meant out. However, I had burnings on my throat and nostrils and they had to clean my lungs. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's the contrary aspect.
Mm.
Every element has a contrary side to it. Um, all teachings do. If we let them get out of control, if we let them run wild in ourselves or in our environment, then we're going to experience the contrary. If we're letting our egos lead us, we're going to experience contrary experiences. Events are going to happen, and it comes back to bite us. But if we go into it in a balanced, centered state, and we are exercising self control, which is the only control we really have, that self control allows us to function within the element.
Yeah,
Initiation come in many ways.
that had to be a pretty scary thing, though. I would
Oh,
imagine,
yeah.
because I know how we were with our fire, and we lived with fear for a while, and then I decided I didn't want to live in fear anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's not how we're supposed to be. We're not supposed to live in fear.
No.
So, and for me, the fire was a phoenix. I mean, like I say, it's transformative, and maybe something needed to be totally transformed.
Yeah.
Every element has the ability to purify us in some
Mm-hmm.
fashion. Air, fire, water, and earth can all purify, they can all cleanse. Um, they can all have an aspect of a healing influence on us. And once you understand them individually, you can combine them in the work that you do, and you can call on more than one element at a time, or all four of them if that's necessary. And then you know what they're going to do when they mix. That's part of cross cutter or cross quarter energy studies. What happens when you mix air and fire together? What do they do? Or fire and water? What happens? Or water and earth? What happens? Or earth and air? What happens? I mean, every time you create a combination, you create a different energy. It shifts, it transforms. So there's a lot that can be explored. There's a lot that comes with every element, let alone all four of them put together.
Sam says that she felt like she was attacked because she was getting ready to do a deep cleaning because she had felt a strong energy that she didn't like.
Mm.
Ooh.
Well, might have been a precursor.
Mm-hmm.
Heads up.
Yeah. David says, as a toddler, I used to love fire. I would light a match and be mesmerized by the flame. I did almost burn down a caravan park. Yeah, I liked fire too when I was little. I would light things on fire just to watch them burn. I like that. I did a small fire in our bathroom when I was that scared me, so I had to learn not to do that. So, yeah,
Every element has a different way of expressing itself for each individual, or our reaction to it and the way we work with it is going to be unique to us. So we're going to experience at some point the contrary nature to it, just exploring. Hopefully it'll be minor, but it opens your eyes a little bit when that comes along. But for the most part, when you learn to work with the elemental forces and call upon them, working with it in your own way, you develop your own style. It isn't, you can only do it this way or you can only do it that way. You've got to find your own style and work with it in a manner that serves your needs and feels comfortable to you and aligns with your spirit.
While
yeah,
respecting that element, it's like we were saying last time that it's about creating that relationship with them.
Mhm.
and I think that the elements are in just about every modality. I mean, if you look at for those people who do tarot cards, swords is air, and you have air, water, fire, all in the tarot cards. It's in every modality. What's that I know about.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
It's everywhere. They're,
But that's
they
because even
they
though
are
we
the
may be,
elements of the life force.
yeah,
They're what create. And so when we call upon them, we're creating with them. That's why we're calling on them. What there's no other reason to summon something like that. If you're not gonna, I mean, you want to play with it, go ahead, but be careful
mhm.
because they don't play around with you. If they do, it's a trap.
I think fire is to me the most serious. I don't know. Water's pretty
They
can
all
be
are.
pretty devastating too. Air, yeah, they can all be pretty devastating,
Yeah,
to be
well, did
honest.
you say you're
I
an earth
wouldn't.
sign?
I wouldn't do well living out in California with earthquakes. I'll tell you that would.
Mhm.
I like the ground solid beneath me.
Did you say
Um,
you were an earth sign, Raven?
Yes, I am.
So fire's opposite you on the wheel. Some
Yeah,
balance here.
yeah. I like fire. Didn't so much when it happened, but actually, I think that looking back at it, I think that it happened at the best time it could have, and it could have done more damage than what it did. And a lot of good things came out of it, to be honest, you know? So,
We had our furnace back up on us on the farm, and the girls and I were overcome with carbon monoxide, and we had all three passed out. And their dad came home, could smell it, threw open the windows, dragged us out of bed, and took us to the window and got the air circulating in our lungs and cleared us that way. And we snapped out of it, but it was the most uncomfortable. And I mean, we could have died.
yeah.
You get a terrific headache, and then you just lose consciousness. But we all had
Wow.
really bad headaches, like a migraine. And we went to bed because our heads hurt. We didn't associate it. And because the furnace backed up, all the soot came out the vents and got into everything in the house.
Oh,
So you might as well have had flame. We didn't have flame, we had soot, but it got into the TV and the stereo and everything. Everything had to be cleaned. So,
Wow.
but I mean, when it happened, he wasn't supposed to come home. He just turned around and came back. He was leaving town, turned around and came back and found us like that. So it saved us. Mhm.
yeah. I mean, it's
Thank you for your
it's
spirit.
yeah. Yeah. Sam says that is terrible. So, and she put a sad face.
Well, I'm sure it was. I mean, it's never a pleasant experience to have something put upon you like that. But what comes out of it is a transformation. Everything changes because of it in one fashion or another. Sometimes lots of layers of change.
Like
Yeah.
we were laughing about earlier, that it doesn't always seem like this good thing when you're going through it, but usually it does turn into something
Beautiful.
useful, something
Yeah.
good, something that enhances your journey or empowers you, or initiations come in many forms.
Yeah.
Not usually in a way we want them to. Different things can happen, and when you commit to the work, you're committing to the work regardless of how it shows up. You have to have that commitment, and it does change you. It changes your life. It changes the way you look at life and everything around you. And it really is worth some of those difficulties.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, Raven, it couldn't have happened at a better time, and it brought about a lot of transformations. That's what happens with them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're for, even though it can be difficult to go through them.
We will initiate to each of the elements, to each of the sacred directions. And if we're not training formally, it can happen informally, happen to us. We're drawn into I can't get my words out, drawn into the initiation. Spirits initiating us, basically, because there's no teacher around to bring us through it. We're going to experience it anyway, one way or another.
Sam
So
says,
if you can work with a teacher, that's all the better. They know the nuances, they know what to watch for, and they can help you.
Sam says it's true. I feel so grateful and in the connection with Mother Earth. And she said, it shaped me.
It does.
It does.
Each one of them will shape you in their own ways.
I was going to say it continues to shape you. Yeah.
Forever.
That's a good
getting
thing.
shaped. And I got lots of gray hair.
Mhm.
Doesn't stop.
Oh, I know when I lived in Alabama, we had a lot of tornadoes and we had a lot of hurricanes. And so, yes.
And that goes back to, why would you want to study the elements or the directions or whatever? And, so that when something like that happens, or you understand where you're at on that wheel or in your path of progression and all of that, it helps you understand. We don't always know why, but I guess why this is happening. Or, okay, I'm working with fire now. So now here's this thing with fire. Or maybe you didn't realize you were stepping into fire. Well, oh, here's a fire to show you that you are. Or,
Well, sure, you
so
can be up to your eyebrows, yeah,
those
before you
connections
realize where you're at with some
that
of
we're
it.
walking that wheel, it helps us come to an understanding of what is being shown to us and what we're being taught and having the experience of.
It's
Yeah.
why it's why I push the foundation so hard, because
Yes.
people that are studying independently on their own can be knee deep in something before they realize that's what they've gotten into, and it's gotten a hold of them so tightly that the only way to get through it is to keep pushing forward. You can't back out of it. It's got you. You have to go forward into the experience. And if you don't know what you're doing, that can be risky. Things can go really wrong. It's like, um, if you're trying to do something to advance yourself or go somewhere or something, anything, and that door won't open for you, it's blocked. It won't let you through. There's a reason for that. How do you unblock it? Should you unblock it? A teacher's going to help you with that. The foundational, the basics are going to help you understand and comprehend what you should or shouldn't be doing, and how to go about it if you should be doing something, so that you can do that safely without any repercussions. That's what it's learning self-control and how to manipulate the energy. We bend it. We don't control it. We control ourselves, and we know how much to summon and how much not to summon, and if and you're doing it with different intensities, and you don't know what you're doing, it can backfire very quickly. Very quickly. Any one of the elements can.
Sam Blue says, do you give classes on the elements and
Yeah,
how do you teach it? Well, Cinnamon, I will let you answer that one.
yeah, absolutely. I do. I have seminars on my website, and I take private students, and we work by email and phone, live chat.
Let's see. I think I have your website on the banner. Let's see.
Spiritlodge.itgo.com.
I thought I had it up there, but must have
It's up
been,
there. My logo's up there
And
yeah.
in the
Sam,
corner.
if I can just mention that we did have an interview back with beautiful Cinnamon Moon. So if you look on our videos on our YouTube channel, Sam, you can watch. We went through extensively. Cinnamon helped uh, with describing what her class is like
Mm.
and everything you'll take from the course. I think that was in September, maybe, of last
Probably.
year,
It was
2024.
last year. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that was jam packed. I remember we even had some questions for you, so it kind of outlined what to expect from the the class itself. So,
Hmm. Yeah.
Yep. And that should be up on our YouTube channel.
mhm. For sure. Oh. Mhm.
You know where to find me, Sam. Just ask, email, or message me.
She said, "Thank you, Lisa." Yeah, Sam, message Cinnamon. I think you're friends on Facebook.
We are. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So Sam says, "Okay, awesome." So now it is time for that special question.
Bum,
Jenna
bum, bum.
and Cinnamon, what message would you like to leave our audience with today?
Get your foundations underneath you. They're so valuable. You will, once you have them in place, you're going to see them present within any tradition that you explore. They're not limited, they're universals. They'll have different semantics in different traditions, but once you know them yourself, you're going to say, "Oh, I know what that's this, that's that, that's the other thing." Um, and they will be invaluable because I mean, I've been practicing since I was, 72 years at it. Um, and I still go back to the basics at times. You need to, you know, something isn't working right. You go back to the basics and figure it out there, and then you go take the extended course and deal with it.
Actually, I've been guided to go back to the basics, and that's what I've been doing. And like I said, I started with air, and I'm still working with it. I'm taking my time through the directions,
Mm-hmm.
through the elements or directions, both they're all the same. Jana, what message would you like to leave our audience with?
Well, Cinnamon said a bunch of what I was going to say.
That's okay. You can say
So
it
that just
too.
states, that it is important.
Yeah.
And to create those relationships, and every time you do walk that wheel, you do have a different experience, and it can continue to deepen and touch your life. And even though different cultures, traditions, countries, whatever, are talking about, it may sound different or be a little different, we're really all talking about the same thing. And you can see that. And, these teachings have stood the test of time because they're real, it's valid, and they're very important. And I've been caught a few times where I forgot to step back to the foundations. So it is very important. And then once you do step back to them, it's like, oh, why didn't I see that? They are huge. You take that circle where the quadrants marked out and the circle in the center, that's the roadmap to life. That's all any of us need. It's that simple and it's that complicated.
And it doesn't matter how long you've been studying, you're going to want to go back to them.
Mm-hmm.
And you can always learn more with them. They can always show you more. You can deepen that connection. It's just a very beautiful, and I'm very grateful that that's where my path started because it gave me that strong foundation to branch out and look into different things in a lot of different ways. But having that foundation made me stronger and made those connections that I created from there stronger.
Yeah, I mean, I first learned the sacred directions in Medicine Springs with, Red Wolf, and I think that it was very good to have that foundation. And that was the first thing that I was taught when I was learning with the medicine men were the four sacred directions, and then we went into sweat lodges and different ceremonies. But anyway,
When those, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was just saying, when those energies are pulled into your healing sessions, you can feel the difference. When you
Yes.
work with them and you ask them to be with you and set that space, you can feel the difference. And your clients can feel the difference. You know, it just makes all the difference all the way around.
Mm-hmm.
Sam says, thank you so much for the love and light. I'm sending it back to you guys.
Thank you.
And David says, forever the student. Have a great night and weekend ahead, my friends.
Thank you.
Right back at you, both Sam and David. And yeah, we're always students. I learn from my students. I learn from my clients. And I feel like if you stop learning, you need to go someplace else or in another direction. Ugh,
If
sorry.
you think you know it all, you're walking in ego.
Yeah.
There's no way to know everything. You can't.
We're not supposed to.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. That
Nope.
comes on the other side of the veil when you cross over.
Well, Cinnamon and Jenna, thank you so much for being on the show. Lisa, would you like to say anything?
Well, I would thank everybody for joining us, whether it's live or in the future when you are tuning in. We are ever so grateful. Thank you. And thank you, Jana and Cinnamon Moon, for joining us this evening again for part 2. So thank you so much for joining Raven and I. I am ever so grateful. Well, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks.
We appreciate it. And we know we're going to see you guys again, too.
Of course.
I know.
Whenever.
Thank you. Everyone,
Thank you.
have a fabulous evening and a fabulous weekend. And we will see you in a fortnight. And Lisa, do you have a clue as to what our next show is?
I do. Our next show, April 18th, it'll be Throne Shellman. And we are going to be talking about the 20-day reset. Mm-hmm.
Talk about what?
20-day reset.
Oh,
20-day reset.
nice. I like Theron. He wrote that book, Third Eye Awakening. Sam won that contest to get that book. Yeah. Okay.